I just want to share a quick update on Keeping Strong Values website. We're very close. Brian has completed the graphics. I spoke to my brother this morning. We're getting ready to move the site into its placement. There's a few things that I'm working on. I'm really excited about that. I hope you will be too, where so many of us have felt that our value systems have been challenged. We look at court things and we look at businesses and how they do business and stuff, and our value systems have been challenged. So if you're a Christian business person, if you're a conservative business person, if you're someone who cares about local values, or you care about family values, and you feel that you haven't been represented in the marketplace, I'm here to tell you that as we put together this website, your representation will be before you, and then it will come up to you to be the one to make the choice to decide whether or not to support those businesses that honor your value system, or to take money from them and put it into people and businesses that support your value systems. So thanks, God bless you, look forward to it, hope to have it up and running by the end of this week. Over the last few months, I've been watching people, as I've always done. I'm an observer. I try to be an observer of people, of times, of what God is doing. Many years ago in my own walk, I was one of those people that I would come up to somebody and God would give me a word for them about a family member or about their life or about changes coming. And I thought that was pretty cool. But then the Lord began to caused me to deepen my walk with Him. He took away some things in my life so that I would be more compassionate, and I'm thankful for those things. But as I went through that process, one of the things that He did to me was He said, it's good that you give people words. Now I want you to give them strategy. And I said, God, strategy? And so over the years, the Lord has made me a student of history, and caused me to enjoy history more than I've ever enjoyed before, and caused me to be a student of strategy. And strategy is critical. Too often I walk into a place and I find myself overwhelmed by the needs in a place. It could be a restaurant, it could be a store, it could be a church. And I want to be able to serve the Lord. And I think if you're listening to this, your desire is not just to listen to me, but it's because you want to serve the Lord. And one of the things that's been difficult, I've seen a lot of disappointment come in people's lives. And the disappointment comes because they feel God is too vague. And I talked about this in another video about tuning into God. But I think it goes deeper than that. I think the vagueness is part of God's plan. It reveals our heart. When I feel like I'm not hearing from God and I find myself getting upset, it's revealing my heart that there's a disappointment or a dissatisfaction that hasn't been spoken to. And out of that dissatisfaction, when I see my anger or my disappointment or my discouragement come forth, what it does to me is I either have to recognize that there's something in me that God is trying to work out, meaning work it out of my life. At the same time, He's trying to work something into my life. And I think it's about what He's trying to work into my life and my failure to observe what He's trying to work out that causes me the most consternation in my life. So I've been having this conversation with my wife and others, and last night the Lord showed me this process. And what it was I call it, for lack of any other word, I call it the cookie thought process. And what I mean by that is God has taken us and He's called us His workmanship. That word workmanship in the book of Ephesians, He speaks to that and He says, you're my creation. And He's made us who we are. He's put in us the very essence of what we need. And the Lord said, when you make cookies, or you desire to bake something, you take all these ingredients and you put that in a bowl, and you add flour and you add sugar and you add hopefully chocolate chips and all those things, and you add those things to the process. But if you look at the bowl, Unless you're one of those people that just likes to eat the cookie batter, and I know there's a lot of you out there, but the reality of it is there's no form to that. There's no finish or finished process in that. And so what we do is we take that cookie batter and we take the very ingredients that are already in there and we take a spoon and we scoop it out and we put it onto a pan or a cookie sheet and we put that into the oven. And the expectation is that when it gets done, it will form out, it will turn round, or it will turn into the shape that it's been poured into, and it will melt out and it will form, and it will do all the things that we intended it to do. At the end of its baking period, we take it out and there's the completed cookie. The chocolate chips are melted, it's brown, it's caramel, it's all the things it needs to be. God says you're like that. That too often we're looking for the direction. The direction is that God has taken the ingredients of God, the ingredients of heaven. He's already put those in. He's given you your what I call our God gifts. You know, it might be music, it might be art, it might be business. Those are God gifts. He's added the manifestations of the Spirit that he speaks about in 1 Corinthians 12, where he talks about these are the things that happen in the yieldedness of God. And then there may also be the furthering of the ascension gifts that are shown in Ephesians 4:11, where he says, I give you apostles and prophets and evangelists and pastors and teachers, and these things I give you for a reason. So he takes all these gifts and he puts them into your life, whatever these gifts are. He takes all these things and he puts them in, and that's the ingredients of you, the cookie. And he takes that, and then you're saying, okay, I want the next thing. I want the next thing. I want the next thing. And you don't hear from God. And you wonder what that's all about. And I feel like last night God says there's a process. I find lately I use that word a lot in people's lives and they don't want to hear about the process. But if he's put character and he's put integrity and he's put faith and he's put these giftings into you and created a gift mix, this cookie batter of God, he wants to put you into the oven because he's not satisfied with where you are. God is never so satisfied with where you are that he doesn't want to bring you to a new place. He loves you and I so much that he wants to continue to form his Son, Christ, in us and bring us to that completed place. So I think that the vagueness we often experience from prophetic people and words we get, I think that vagueness is because God has already put a lot of stuff in you and he's saying to you, now go in the oven. And you're saying, but whoa, I'm not sure, I want to do this and I want to do that. No, there's an oven process. I really believe this, that there's an oven process. There's a process where all these ingredients that stand alone in so much of this batter come together and they begin to meld and the flavors begin to meld. And we wonder how can we be prophetic when we're so hard? But then the gift of compassion, compassion comes in as we hang around with other people and we find it coming in our serving. And so I'm firmly convinced that the blessing is in the going. For all those years, the Bible records that Abraham didn't experience anything. God had given him a word. He said, I want you to leave your family. And Abraham didn't quite leave his family when he finally left, but he brought Lot with him. And even God needed to work that out of him. He had to take Lot out of his life. Why? Because his desire was to have Abraham become exactly who he created him to be. But Abraham was thinking that he was still the batter. Moses, we see, got this word from God that he would be a deliverer of the children of Israel. And in that place, he did something that was not God. He killed a taskmaster, and he was forced to flee. And then he went, well, God, I thought I heard you. And he gets to the other side of the desert. He spends another 40 years over there. And then God comes to him through the burning bush experience. And he says, you know what? Most of the process is done, but I need you to go back. He's going, go back. I'm 80 plus years old. God brings him into this place. And even on that trip back, God was removing things. The issues that he had about circumcision with his son and all those things. And God brought him to that place. And God planted that faith, that word in him at the very beginning of his formation of that batter called Moses. He put that word in Abraham at the very beginning. He put that word in Joseph. He said, this is what's going to happen through this dream that he had. And too often we jump ahead and we want what we want and we want it now. The fact of the matter is we're in a process. And it's a marathon. It's longer than this sprint thought process that we so frequently have. But most importantly, if you've found that there's vagueness in your life and you're not totally hearing from God, God has already put all these cool things in your life. I want to encourage you. Begin to walk it out. Begin just to walk into a place. Someone said when I was with them on Saturday, they were saying, we came all the way from this country of South Africa. We came all the way to the United States. And only after we got here did the confirmations begin to come. If you're looking for a confirmation, maybe you haven't gone to that place. Maybe like Abraham, you haven't left some of the things God wanted you to leave behind. Maybe like Moses, you've misinterpreted some of the word that's been spoken over you. Maybe like Joseph, there was still some character issues that God was working out in you. Whatever those things are, God is desirous that you would begin to walk those things out. So I hope that's helpful to you. If there's vagueness in your life, I just want to speak this over your life, that the blessing is in the going, that there is a process of God that you're still in, that He's not done with you, He hasn't forgotten where you live. He wants to do something great and mighty in your life, and you need to step out into it. Don't step out because you just feel like that's all you can do. Step out because the Lord is walking with you. Mark 16:20 says that wherever the disciples went and the word was brought forth, God was with them. He followed them. He went with them, and signs and wonders came. So if you're waiting for those major confirmations, walk out your call. Walk out the things that have been put in your life. Walk out the destiny that God has already planted in your life. He's shaken you up. He's had you in the oven of His love, and He desires to continue steadfastly in your life. Thanks, and God bless.